So in terms of what he's teaching is that the family has a soul.
Yes.
And so when there is something that goes awry, then it's like that family soul is out of balance.
Yes.
And so something that happened 2 generations ago could in fact affect me today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so when I began to look back on my family history in terms of not just history, just who begot who, but when I look at some of the stories that have been passed down, and sometimes we look at things like what black sheep of the family, the
Yes.
person who has been kind of put out,
Yes.
you know, of the family, or divorces. I know one young woman who no woman in her family had been married for like years.
Yes.
But she had a very difficult time. She wanted to be married.
Yes.
But it was something that would happen to every relationship she had to kind of end the relationship. So it seemed like marriage would never happen for her.
Yes, these kind of examples are really, really common, and they have to do with, for this woman, for example, somebody earlier in the generations, something happened. Maybe she was married to a man who died early. Maybe he went to war and never came back. Who knows what happened? We don't have to know what happened. But the impulse is out of love, is for us to repeat these patterns, trying to get them to come into the light. So the invitation with this work is to really see our ancestors with, that they have the strength and the dignity, and that they came before us, so that those who come before are the best ones to carry their fates. So that this, more than anything with this blessing, the kind of painful patterns that we continue have permission to stop.
And a lot of times when you're looking back, we have a tendency to be very judgmental about what maybe the grandfather did or our dad left us or whatever. And so it's a lot of pain there. So how does this approach, this family constellation, work to help me get beyond the judgment and this pain?
Yes. The first thing is to see that the judgment too comes from love, that the place of our judgments is to block the pain that comes from whatever went on where there was loss or difficulty. And to know that our judgments don't start with us, that we can just, even with a few moments of prayer, let the judgment lead us to the ones who came before, to whatever judgments they had. Sometimes this has to do with judgment between a mother and a father. Maybe a woman has a mother who judges the father, or the father judges the mother, and then the child is trapped between the two. It's impossible to be in life then. Or maybe it's judgment between people. Maybe it's between faith traditions. Maybe it's between descendants from Europe and descendants from Africa. For us to let the judgment lead us, not block us, to connection with the ones before.
So how would you use this? Well, I guess one of the things we keep talking about family constellation. I want you to give us an idea of how this process actually works, because this is somewhat of a group therapy where people come together from various backgrounds and they come together for the healing of each person in that group.
Yes, yes. So a group of people come together, maybe a couple of dozen, maybe more than this, and the facilitator, like myself, sits with a person who identifies very clearly what's the difficulty in their life. Maybe it's health problem, relationship, career, whatever. And then the facilitator asks this person to pick representatives from the circle to represent family members. This is based on facts of family life. It's not about the story of who likes whom, this kind of thing. And then after picking, people say, would you be my mom, my dad, etc. The representatives get placed in the circle, and what happens now is there's a corner of the hologram of my family that I carry in my soul that's been put into 3D in this circle. These representatives now simply report what they experience. Maybe they feel a headache, a tummy ache, they like the person they're standing with, they don't like them, this kind of thing. And there's simply an unfolding. It's a very consistent phenomena how these bodies, once they're placed, feel, think, experience things. And it's very much about just honoring truth. Not fixing, not changing, simply acknowledging truth. When we do this, we're invited into a new picture that continues to unfold after people leave this setting, and it most often breeds compassion and acceptance for not only ourselves, but our whole human family.
Now, when I was doing research on family constellation, the order of love kept coming up. Let's talk about order of love.
Yes. This is a term that Hellinger uses to describe principles operating in that blueprint. So examples are that parents give and children take. This is the best order of connection between parents and children. The impulse often is for children to give to their parents in some way, trying to make the suffering better of their parents. But this goes against the flow of life. Parents pass life on from the ones who came before to their children. So our best way of honoring love in life is to simply be in our place as a son or a daughter and to accept from our parents. Other examples of orders are balance of give and take. So say in a partnership, if one person is giving too much, the other's taking too much, it's harmful to love. Our contemporary therapy way of looking at this has to do with maybe codependence, these kinds of things. That language is useful, but it doesn't get at how the soul experiences connection. So a few other just simple things are that everybody belongs. Everybody has their place of belonging in the system. If anybody's excluded, this includes tiny baby beings, miscarriages, abortions, stillbirths, bonding through war experience, all these things. The soul feels this as exclusion without judgment. Somebody later in the family system becomes entangled with the ones who've been excluded. And then justice is very important. Where there's been harm done, injustice, on this land, this has to do with our history around genocide of indigenous people and enslavement of African people. Those pictures of injustice are entangling all of us today.
So you can actually work, a therapist could actually work with groups from different faith backgrounds.
Absolutely.
Or whites and blacks or whites
Absolutely.
and Native Americans, and to begin a healing.
Absolutely. This work is cross-cultural, it's interfaith. Biblically, our phrases around the truth shall set you free, the sins of the fathers shall visit the 7 generations later, Native traditions, knowingness about 7 generational pictures. This work is for all of us.
You know, and I really think about the whole idea of creating healthy families, that it's very difficult for us to create a healthy family if we indeed are carrying baggage and wounds from the past. So
Absolutely.
This is one of those techniques and one of those approaches that allow us to free ourselves from the baggage of the past.
Absolutely.
Well, Lisa, I'd like to thank you so much for being here on A Woman's Place and sharing with us this valuable information about family constellations.
I so appreciate it. Thank you.